Hello again for another episode of Turnip28 stuff. I will be making some cavalry using the Perry Miniatures French Heavy Cavalry sprue as the basis. I got this off eBay for about £5, so it's a lot cheaper than buying the whole box by itself. The sprue contains enough parts to make 4 cavalry, but I only need 3, so one will be going into the bits box, or perhaps being used later as an officer type guy. So to begin with, clipping out all the parts and then assembling the horses using plastic glue. Then putting some plastic glue into the saddle and placing the bodies atop it. Followed by the arms and the heads. You get a choice of 3 different arm styles, so I went for one of each. You also get 2 types of head in the box, so I went for one each of those, and then added a 3rd head from the Wargames Atlantic Spanish Conquistadors. I prefer to use round bases, but I didn't have any on hand, so I grabbed some rectangular ones from the bits box and glued them on. Next up, to make the horses a bit weirder, I took a hobby saw and removed their muzzles. These would then be replaced by some kind of turnipy squid symbiote thing, with some tentacles coming out the front, and then a big kind of saggy body on the back. But still for the most part recognisable as horses. To create a trio of tendrils coming out the front of the horse's mouth, I took some hobby wire and some super glue, bent the wire out of shape, then attached them so they were all splayed in different directions. Grabbing some fine white milliput, I mixed it together using the 2 parts, and started sculpting on a few additional details, mainly to cover up the join between the wire and the face, and to create a kind of blobby body for the symbiote type insect thing that would be sitting on top of the horse's head. I also needed to remove some material from the rest of the horse's head, so where any bits were sticking out, they got trimmed down. I used a sculpting tool to blend it together and create a kind of funnel type mouth, but leaving the inside open, so it would be clear that it was the mouth of the creature. Then taking more blobs of milliput, I laid them up over the top of the horse's head to cover the mane and any horsey features. After that, I added some saggy details and wrinkles to the milliput, so it would appear more fleshy and blobby, as well as adding the cloth coverings over the faces, as well as some fur trim on the shoulders and the rear of the horse, just to add a bit more personal detail to the riders. The tails also got trimmed off. Not entirely sure why I did that, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. With the excess milliput, I made it into little kind of funnely cone shapes, so I'd have some spare mushroom caps for later. Then grabbing some Vallejo texture paste, I went over the wire, so the tongues would have some texture to them. The texture paste also went on the base, and on a few areas around the horse's flanks and body, to make it a bit more interesting and muddy. Once the texture paste was dry, I went in with Vallejo black surface primer and applied a black base coat. I filled this up with a dark brown and a very heavy-handed dry brush. I opted to match the infantryman that I've already done, so the uniform got a coat of white paint and purple on the trim, with some light grey and brown trousers. I then used a green paint on the secondary details, so the entire thing would have a root vegetable colour scheme, kind of like a wild turnip, where the epaulets and the plumes would be the foliage, and then the pink and the white uniform, the base of the turnip. The fur trim's got a highlight of lighter brown, working up to a tan colour. I'm mostly using AK Interactive paints for this, but the metallics are from P3 by Privateer Press. The helmets, breastplates and swords got a base coat of dark iron. There was a temptation to go bronze with these, but I feel like that would have been a bit too close to the brown around it, and I wanted a bit more contrast. But it would be rusted down later. So do whatever you like, really. Going in with a lighter brown on the leather detailing, as well as the cross straps on the chest. Then for the parasite thing on the front, again mirroring the turnip colour scheme. So we're going to go for a nice tan colour as the body, and a pink tone on the tendrils. Then blending it together with a more vibrant pinky purple tone over the kind of muzzle of the worm thing. Finally, taking some more vibrant colours and applying them on the very top of the model, so you get a fake lighting effect. I also applied some rust using some watered down orange paint, applying it over the metallics and letting it pool in the corners so you get natural rust build-up. Moving on to the bases and taking some clump foliage and some matte Mod Podge, mixing it together into a basing slime, and then applying it onto the base so it would have a nice swampy vibe. Adding a few choice tufts for some bonus points of detail. To blend the base and the foliage together, I applied a watered down black paint on top of the clump foliage, then a light dry brush of brown over the top. I also applied the dark brown diluted mixture over the base of the model on the lower 50%. So it appeared to be more light on the top, and again emphasising that fake lighting. With that dry, we're done. We are 3 horsemen, ready to join the turnip army. Thanks so much for watching, I hope to catch you next time.